Hello, everyone. So, first of all, I wanted to thank you all. I know it's lunchtime. I know it's almost the last day of reInvent, so thank you. I really appreciate your presence here. I'm going to start by introducing myself. So, I'm Inês Pina Fernandes. I'm a solutions architect, and I'm based in EMEA, where I help public sector customers. And basically, a solutions architect is a technical advisor that helps customers build, design solutions on AWS. So just to set the mood for the session, what we're going to actually be talking about today is how can companies raise the customer expectations in an ever-changing technology. You're here at reInvent, you've seen so many announcements, and we need to be prepared and help companies really deliver to that expectation. So the agenda for today, after a quick introduction, we're going to be diving deep into a service, which is Amazon Bedrock, and then we're going to see two customer references. And I don't want you to have any spoilers, so I've hidden the actual customers that we have there, but basically they are in the travel and automotive industries, so we can expect to learn a bit how they are revolutionizing their industries with generative AI. Finally, I don't want you to leave here empty-handed, so I'm going to show you how you can get started, how you can get help if you still don't run those production solutions in the cloud. That's what you can do. So, in today's world, we all crave authentic experiences, whether it's through travel, exploring new cultures, or even exploring the best of technology. We just want to find experiences that don't just meet our needs, but they also connect with our hearts. The issue here is that scaling these meaningful connections is a challenge. So how can companies ensure that every interaction is going to be personal, it's going to be memorable, and it's going to be seamless? So in the travel and automotive industries, the stakes are even higher. So people are demanding personalized, curated experiences that just meet their needs, totally handcrafted for them. And in the automotive, we are used now to in-car digital assistants, and we want them to help us as if they were our own co-pilots. So this is what we're dealing with today. What can happen is that companies don't have the resources to scale this, don't have the automation implemented, so this can cause some delays or even bumps in the road. So how can we help customers and our companies bridge this gap? And today I'm going to be presenting you how generative AI can actually help in this use case to create those curated and crafted experiences. First, I wanted to ask one request from the crowd. I wanted to ask, in your day-to-day, how many of you are using generative AI? And you can answer in personally or in your companies. So if you can just have a show of hands. Okay. For the ones that didn't put it up, we have 70%, according to the World Economic Forum, 70% of companies are going to be using AI by 2027. So if we meet here again in 2027, I'm sure you're going to have your hand raised. And with generative AI, although some tasks may become obsolete, there's completely new tasks, services, and solutions that are going to come out of there. So we should stay tuned. I'm not going to go too deep into generative AI here on what it is, because I'm sure you've heard it a million times here through this expo and the sessions. But basically, this is the power of creating new content. We can create code, we can create text, images. All of that is able to do with generative AI. And what's the base of generative AI? Basically, they use foundation models, and these are large language models that are trained on huge and diverse amounts of data, making it very knowledgeable on basic tasks, but then you're able to also customize it to your needs. So this is where the personalization and curated experience are going to come out of. So in AWS, we want to offer you the most flexible options. So we don't have just one option for generative AI. We have 3 layers in the stack. You can see if you want to use generative AI on your organizations and from the start on the business level, you have tools like Amazon Q or AWS App Studio. If you want to build generative AI applications, for that we have Amazon Bedrock, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And then if you want to build your own models, it's not so usual, but feel free to put that into your company use case. We have the infrastructure that is available for you to build those models on it. So as I said, today we're going to be focusing on Amazon Bedrock. So without further ado, Amazon Bedrock is a managed service. It brings flexibility and control to build generative AI applications. So you can use and choose foundation models for industry leaders in AI. So you're able to choose what model you want to use. And as we're going to see now, not every model is good for the same tasks. Some models are good for summarization, some models create images, so we need to be able to choose what model we want to work with. Then we can use Amazon Bedrock to customize generative AI applications with your data, and for that we have, for example, two strategies. We could do fine-tuning, which would be let's train our model on our company data, or we can create a retrieval and augmented generation system, which is basically tell the model where our data is and to basically query it. And I'm going to dive deeper into that in just a second, just because our generative AI use cases today are built on this type of solutions, and I want you to understand. Then there's also a feature on Amazon Bedrock that you could use agents. So let's imagine that you have a company that you need to offer to book travel plans, let's say. You could have an agent that follows throughout the whole plan in communication with your customer, and that you can imagine that would automate and free your workers to do different tasks than just answering questions, all that process that takes some time. For Amazon Bedrock, I'm sure this slide is now outdated because we prepared the sessions before reInvent, but these are the choice of foundation models that we have from our industry leaders. And you can notice here exactly what I was saying before. We have models that are good for summarization, others generate images, others will be good at helping you code. So these are the models that we have available. So a question here on how to use Amazon Bedrock, and I wanted to see how easy it is. So it's as easy as calling an API. So we can do an API call, and this is the base, so basically the first API that Amazon Bedrock came up with. So you just choose the model ID, you do some configuration, and you have an API call, generative AI integrated in your application. But what happens here with this API is that it's not agnostic to all the models. So imagine you change the model ID, you'd also need to change the configuration. So what I wanted to show you here is that we have a converse API. And the converse API means that it's going to be agnostic to the models that can work with this API, which means that I just need to change the model ID and I'm already trying a different model. And why is this important? Once you put generative AI in your application, the model that you're using might not be the best fit. So you can do some experimentation and just, well, it doesn't work anymore, let's change for a different model. So this would be the Converse API, and it will always give the answer in the same way, which is also very easy to integrate in applications. So if you always get the answer in the same way, you know how to integrate it and code the parts that you need to change. This is the last technical feature that I'm going to talk to you about today. So there's also a retrieve and generate API, and this is when I was talking to you about basically the RAG solution, retrieval and augmented generation. So what it does is that we're going to connect it to our source, to our data, our company data. This can be stored in an S3 bucket. If you know what an S3 bucket is basically object storage in AWS, a cost-effective service to store different types of data. But you can also connect it to other sources like Confluence, Salesforce. So if you have company data that you need to be integrated with your model, so it gets to know what you want to talk about with the model, you can use this type of solution. So what it does is that it's going to query that data. We're going to also use a vector-based model that's going to turn your data into actually something that can be searchable. And once the user inputs a question, the API is going to query that source of data. get the response back to the model, and the model wraps it up in a response that's going to be understandable. And that's how we get data from our companies into a model response. So finishing with the technical component, now we can understand in the use cases how it's going to be used. And basically what I want you to do here is leave with some ideas of how you can integrate this in your companies, in your day-to-day. So how can you personalize and help your customers' experience to be better? So as I said, we're going to have 2 use cases, one on the travel and the other on automotive. So let's start with the first problem. So there's a limit to traditional publishing model when you want to give travel guidebook recommendations. So basically, as a traveler, you want to have a created digital itinerary. Actually, according to UN, international travel is going to reach pre-pandemic levels this year, so by 2024. And although travel is increasing, technology is also revolutionized. So we don't expect the same things out of travel as we did before. Now that we know that we can get, we see so many things on all the platforms of travel recommendations, and we want to integrate it in our own travel when we're going to do this. The challenge here is that there's a high demand for these curated itineraries. Then the personalization that needs to be done. If we're going to do this manually, imagine you do a request for personalized travel. This takes a lot of time. And this company was having a big challenge to meet the demand for these personalized, curated experiences that their customers requested. So let's focus on our goal. But first, I wanted to show you the company that I'm talking about is Lonely Planet. If you don't know what Lonely Planet is a travel guidebook recommendation system, and it also has online recommendations that you can find travel when you need travel tips, when you need a guidebook to guide you through your travel. You can look out for Lonely Planet. So how did Lonely Planet actually revolutionize their workflow? Let's keep in mind our goal. So our traveler wants a curated digital experience, and let's see what Lonely Planet did. Basically, it created this RAG solution, so basically what we were seeing before, and it integrated with their travel book recommendations. It's important to note here that all these recommendations come from their editors, basically from real life people. We get these recommendations into the system, and our model knows how to recommend the travel curated experiences to our users. So they chose Amazon Bedrock because of the optionality. They can change the model easily. In this case, they're using 2 large Anthropic cloud models, and also for the security, because they knew that their data would be secure in the AWS cloud when integrated with Amazon Bedrock. This way, they were able to generate these digital itineraries, and in the end, they're able to meet demand. In terms of impact, what they were able to do is scale to millions of experiences. So now they're able to generate these created experiences and deploy unlimited travel experience that they weren't able to do before. In terms of impact, as I was saying before, they were able to have a cost reduction of 78% by using Amazon Bedrock compared to using other model providers. And they also were able to have an 80% cost reduction if they were actually going to manually handcraft each of those experiences. They also had a 60% cost reduction in overall cloud spend when moving to AWS. And the last touch is that I wanted to tell you that they were able to migrate 50 years of travel book recommendations into the system. So you can see that the model is enriched with 50 years of travel book recommendations. Now, I wanted to get into the second use case. The second use case is on BMW. So we've talked about travel, so how can we now get to our place? We can do it with the car, so let's do it today in the BMW. The end goal here is that we have our driver, and he wants to have a better, faster, secure in-car digital experience. But you can imagine that behind all of this, there's a lot of infrastructure to manage. So we know now that in our cars, we have control, help from basically a digital experience integrated. And BMW had 22.3 million connected devices, 14.3 billion requests daily, and the amount of data that they need to process daily is 145 terabytes. So you can imagine that processing these large amounts of data poses as a challenge. On top of this, it's a big team, so BMW has 450 DevOps teams, and each of them is following the best practices, so each of them has an AWS account, and then they need to manage all of this. So it's very difficult to optimize cloud infrastructure when it comes to cost, also performance, there's bottlenecks, so they needed to solve this challenge. On top of that, once they figure out how to optimize, how do they share those insights with everyone in the company so that the 450 DevOps teams, which have several team members in it, follow these best practices? So what they did, and keeping again our goal in mind that in the end what they want is a better, faster and secure in-car digital experience, BMW used Amazon Bedrock, and with the help of the Generative AI Innovation Center, so this is an AWS team that connects you with experts that will help you build, deploy applications in the cloud. So you will have the expertise of AI and machine learning specialists to help you do this. Then they chose this because of the flexibility, again, choosing different models. Their actual solution is able to choose between different models, and again, the security. So what they created is the in-console cloud assistant, so ICCA, and basically this is going to be an assistant for the DevOps teams to use natural language processing, so they can ask directly insights, how to optimize cost optimization, and also get those recommendations back from the in-cloud assistant, so that every team gets the same recommendations to optimize on costs, on infrastructure, on performance, and that's how they're able to do this. In terms of impact, in the end, they were able to have cost reduction because of these actionable insights that they're now getting. They are also able to accelerate the time to market. If it's easier to manage their infrastructure in the cloud, they can focus on better experiences for their customers, so the in-car digital experiences. It's also increased efficiency in the teams that are working on this. And finally, an enhanced customer experience for the user, for the actual driver of the car, which was the whole goal. So basically, we're able to build trust with our customers by getting this in-car digital experience to those 22.3 million connected vehicles. Finally, I wanted to let you know that this isn't just technical innovation. The end goal is that the customers can connect with your brand, with your voice, so you can build those lasting customer relationships that we were talking about in the beginning. So this is all about raising those expectations. In the beginning, I was talking about meeting them, so I really want you to be able to raise them. And in today's world, we can just create products that are general. We need to craft those experiences into something that our customers, the expectations are going to be met. Just to leave you with some ideas, you saw here that we used Amazon Bedrock to build an assistant for an in-car. You also saw to build personalized experiences for travel, but this applies to all use cases. So if you have a use case that you need some personalization, this could be a strategy for you to follow. And to finish up, I wanted you to see how you can start your generative AI journey in the cloud. So AWS is here to help. We have teams that are able to meet with you, to understand your use case and help you through the process of deploying this type of solutions in the cloud. So if you're stuck, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And finally, I already spoke about the Generative AI Innovation Center, but it will basically help you build, grow, and amplify your application. So if you have something new that you want to build, this would be a good option. But if you also need help with scalability, growth, something on a product that you already have, also an option for you to connect with the Generative AI Innovation Center. To finish off, I know that I spoke about the use cases very quickly, but they are public references. So if you want, you can see the Amazon Bedrock service page to understand a bit more about the solution. If you want to read about the Lonely Planet Gen AI story, you have it there. And also for BMW, the same thing. You have the Gen AI case study there. So we are in the last 30 seconds, so I wanted to thank you so much for your time and for listening in. And I can take questions on the side if you have anything that we want to talk about.